Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll give everyone a little bit of time to join in. Write in the chat box where you're joining us from. We love to know. I see a few familiar faces that we've had before. Where's everyone joining us from? DF, where's DF? Paul from Dallas. Glad to have you. Anyone else from Texas? Rich is here from calling in from Texas. Arizona. Where else? I know I saw a lot of different countries on the sign-ups. Fort Lauderdale. Another Austin. Yay, glad to see that. If you're just coming into the room, let us know where you're joining us from. We're going to give it a few minutes for people to trickle into the room, all that good stuff. More Austin. This is great. Got a lot of Austin folk in the room today.
All right.
Yeah. All right, we'll give it like one more minute for people to come join us. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. If you just get into the room, go ahead and tell us where you're coming in from, Los Angeles. As you know, today we're going to be talking about travel to the Tokyo Summer Games, which was going to happen this year and is now postponed to next year, as you well know. I'm Ashley, one of your hosts for today and the founder of Traverse Journeys. And my travel goes way back. I started in high school and all through college, studied abroad and started working in tourism in 2007 and have been jumping around the globe since then. I'm calling in from Denmark today, actually, is where I live. And my awesome co-host here, Rich, is calling in from Austin. You want to tell a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm in Austin, Texas. So I see we have some other Austin people on the line. I've been in travel, working in travel since early 2000s, and I spend most of my time on the road traveling through the world and going to different events and sporting events and festivals that we deal with at Bucket List Events. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but just like Ashley, it's always the next adventure, on to the next adventure. So it's kind of it's an ongoing fun time, except this year was a little hard for all of us, I think, all of us travelers, having to put everything on hold.
Yeah, and fun fact, so Rich and I started working together in 2007. So our tourism days together go way back in Munich. We spent a lot of time in Germany, in Spain, and we also worked together at the 2008 Beijing Olympics and 2010 Vancouver. So lots of good experience and history there. So we'll just tell you a little bit to start about Traverse Journeys. So we're a women-founded and run company. Our tagline, People, Planet, Purpose, is really indicative of what we do. We do small group impact-focused trips. We also do a lot more custom itineraries these days as well. One of our key factors is people. So we really give you the chance for people-to-people experiences, to get to know local communities, to really make connections that are transformative for not only where you're visiting, but yourself as well. And then Planet, so we work really hard to support local communities in an environmental way through the local bed and breakfast that we stay at, for example, or sustainability efforts that we engage in. Also try and be a light traveler. We do a lot of farm to table, for example, or water saving techniques in some of the hotels that we work with. And of course, we get to see a lot of incredible places in nature. And then purpose goes back to that impact. So for every Traverse trip, we have a nonprofit community partner that we do some kind of activity with. On some of these pictures, you can see it can range from ocean conservation to heritage seed savings to language. In Peru, we do some really cool work with Quechua language preservation. So it really varies. We are in about 20 countries around the globe. And our partner for this particular talk and event for the Tokyo Summer Games is Bucket List Event, because of the history of that Rich and I have working together, and they're true experts in this field. So I'll let Rich tell you a little bit more about Bucket List Events.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. Thank you so much for having us join you today, and we're excited to be partnering with Traverse for the Tokyo Summer Games program and the Japanese travel program. So a little about us, Bucket List Events. We offer travel and hospitality packages to a variety of the world's largest international sporting events and festivals. Since 2003, the team at Bucket List Events has been providing guests with unforgettable, once-in-a-lifetime experiences and access to some of those most sought-after events. As you'll see over on the right side of your screen, you'll see some of the sporting events and festivals and experiences that we offer packages and travel opportunities to. The Summer Winter Olympics, which we'll talk about today. We also are involved in several of the soccer events like the FIFA World Cup or the Champions League Final, which is more or less the soccer football version of the Super Bowl. We do the Final Four basketball. We do some NBA stuff. Golf is a big thing for us. So the Masters Golf Tournament, if you're familiar with golf, you definitely have heard of the Masters Tournament. Ryder Cup's always a fun one. Kentucky Derby every year. That's a fun one just to come people watch. If nothing else, get dressed up. And then for you tennis fans, obviously there's no better tennis event than Wimbledon. And then the festivals and experiences that we've been doing for a long time. As Ashley mentioned, the two of us have spent a lot of time in Munich for the Oktoberfest, the original Oktoberfest. It's an amazing event, amazing region if you've never been to Bavaria. Really, really pretty, and a lot of history in that region as well. Running of the Bulls in Spain, always a fun time, an interesting event, very unique. The presidential inauguration is a neat experience. Obviously, that's coming up soon. Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, CMA Awards, and then Comic-Con in San Diego is actually a pretty big event for us. So we're all over the place with what we offer, but as you can see, they're generally around the big bucket list type events that people want to go to maybe once or twice in their life.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. So today we're going to talk a little bit about this is a little overview of what we're going to talk about. So we'll talk about COVID in Japan and what that's looked like and how that's impacted the Olympics. Since we focus a lot on culture, we're going to talk about some Japanese cultural values and things to expect there. Rich is going to give us an overview of like the Olympic Games and what to expect and what they're like. And then we'll talk about the packages themselves. We'll talk about Tokyo, Mount Fuji, and Kyoto, and then how to go and how to make it all happen. So, Rich, do you want to talk to us a little bit about COVID to start?
Yes, perfect. Well, as you guys know, COVID has pretty much affected every bit of travel there is around the world, and the Olympics did not escape that by any means. But the good thing is the Olympics were rescheduled to the summer of 2021. They were postponed until the summer of next summer. And recently, we're starting to hear a little bit more chatter from the IOC and TOCOG, the organizing committee, regarding next summer. Right now, they recently came out and said that the Tokyo Olympics will take place next year with or without COVID, which is promising for everybody involved or people that have already booked packages, because that means that they're really trying to come up with any solution they can to make sure that there is a safe games in place. It's going to be one of the most highly anticipated games, I think, that has ever been around, because everyone just doesn't know what to expect. But I think if anyone can pull it off, Japan can do it. The games will start next year on July 23rd. They're currently going through different meetings. They have a three-party council that's made up of the Japanese government, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, and the organizing committee. And like I said, they're just kind of trying to come up with some sort of robust countermeasures by the end of the year to let us know what's going on. They're going to discuss athletes' transportation and border control in this first round of meetings. I think they're going to go into the athletes' village and competition venues in November. And then in spectator focus will be the final one, which obviously we're all interested in because we want to know how we're affected. The next thing is more Japan is set to reopen international tourism. So whether you want to go to the Olympics or you just want to go to Japan, this is good news. They have just released in the last week that they're looking at opening international tourism to Japan in April of 2021. What that looks like is yet to be determined, but they are determined to get the world, everything back open. Obviously, it depends on the world, but right now, I think there's like 160, Ashley and I were talking, and I think there's like 160 countries right now banned from traveling to Japan. So opening back up to everybody is a big undertaking, but I think April 2021 is the date. There's going to be obviously a few conditions, and there's speculation on what those may or may not be, but they said by the end of the year, January 2021, they'll start putting that stuff into place so you can understand what's expected to be able to travel to Japan. And that kind of segues into the precautions being put into place right now to just ensure a safe summer games. This in the last couple of weeks as well. A lot of this is coming out in the next couple of weeks. As you know, the world is changing very quickly, and every day to day things tend to be updated and changed. But they released this little graphic I've shared on the right, and you'll see that some of the countermeasures being put into place for discussion right now is having foreign visitors of Japan obtain some sort of visa. Visas aren't necessarily required to travel to Japan, so depending on where you're from. But the visas and what that actually looks like, is yet to be determined. But there will be a healthcare app. We've seen some of these apps being done for athletics and different events right now where you track your testing, and it's easily monitored by the organizers of the event, or in this case, travel. You would have to have a certification of a negative PCR test, so a negative lab-based test. So you'd have to have that within so many days of testing, so many days of traveling. And then there's some sort of medical insurance that possibly may be required when traveling. Now, is that included in what your travel insurance already provides maybe, or is there something additional that they're going to require us to have? I'm not sure, but these are little things that you can see that they're considering for the Tokyo Games, possibly for Japan entry as well. But once you have that PCR test, it looks like you're going to be able to confirm that PCR test with your app upon arrival, and then you'll be allowed to watch the games. They have a whole center, consultation center set up, or they will have a whole consultation center set up. I don't know what the official name will be eventually, but that'll be something that if you have issues while you are in Japan, you will have a safe place to go and ask questions or be treated or get looked at if needed. So as you can see, they're definitely making progress, but I think we'll learn a lot more in the next couple of months between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rich. So before we start talking about the actual cities and the Olympics itself, we wanted to pull in some values about Japan, because of course, one of the really cool things about going to the Olympics is seeing the country that you're visiting. It's a really good opportunity for a culturally immersive experience. So one of the big things in Japan, we talk about in relationship to community and relationships. Japan is what we would call a collectivist culture. So relationships are strong, especially families where members can care for each other. There's some form of like moral obligation to members of the group. That's how we really define like the collectivist culture. They might not be as strong as some other countries in the Asia region. However, loyalty to like a family or to say like a company that you're working for is extremely important. That's part of that cultural value. Also is the concept of the loss of face, so not embarrassing on behalf of the whole group. As you probably know, Japan has a lot of traditions. They have a really high level of respect for tradition, lots of rituals and ceremonies. They're performed consistently and predictably. You'll notice a high level of etiquette, like with the different kinds of bows, for example, a lot of respect to whoever you're encountering, or even if it's something ancient, for example. We also describe Japan as a masculine society. And what we mean by that, and this comes from Hofstede, the culturalist, is that it's driven by competition and achievement and success. So you really see that in Japan, they're motivated to seek the best. a feminine society, for example, seek to like what they do. So that's kind of the counter, the opposite. And Japan is one of the most masculine societies in the world. Because they're a collectivist culture, you tend to see this manifest in groups, like teams, for example, or companies like wanting to be the best, or a drive for excellence. If any of you are Anthony Bourdain fans and maybe have watched any of his Japan episodes, you can see like maybe they go to a restaurant and it's only serving ramen or teriyaki chicken, but it is like the best in the city, or they seek to be the best and they really focus on one thing. So you can see that in a lot of aspects of Japanese culture. And Rich and I were talking a lot too about, it's what we would call a rule-based culture, and there's an importance of hierarchy. Rich, can you tell us a little bit of your experiences like dealing with hotels? And
Yeah, so when you deal with international business, a lot of times, flexibility is always the one big thing that, you're worried about, and when you're trying to set up these programs. And what I found in Japan and also in Korea recently for the Winter Games, they tend to be, they want to follow the rules, and it's hard to be very flexible. So where there might be something that we find, oh, it's not a big deal to maybe push this 30 minutes or set up a program just a tad differently than what's listed on the sheet. Or move this table over to here. They have to get permission. They have to have rules, and they're very worried about telling you no. They want to make sure that they go to their boss, has to go to their boss. So things tend to be slow, which is great. And you appreciate their attention to the detail, and you appreciate that they want to do things the correct way. They want to please. But I will tell you, it can be a very slow process based on our impatient culture here in the States. We'd like to know, oh, well, what's the big deal to move that table? Well, it probably isn't that big of a deal, but they have to go through little, I guess, change of command.
Yeah, all the steps. Yeah, exactly. And that's really indicative of like the hierarchical culture and then like that kind of rules base.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the Olympics.
Yeah, so I'll start off with just giving you guys a little bit overview of what's going to be happening in Tokyo for the Olympics. So the Olympics will be, you've probably seen this if you're following some of the stuff for the Olympics, you've seen this 2020 plus one. That's just their simple way of saying, hey, it's going to 2021. I think it's more of a cute thing than anything, but it's basically the Tokyo Summer Olympics being held next summer in July. So does anybody, I don't know, I guess you can't really talk back to me. You can type something, but this is not their first time to host the Olympics. Tokyo hosted the Summer Games in 1964, and Japan has actually hosted 2 Winter Games as well in 1972 and 1998 in Sapporo and Nagano. So Japan is very comfortable hosting the Olympics. This is not their first rodeo, as we say down here, but I think they'll do, if anyone can pull off an amazing Summer Games, I know Japan can do it. And Tokyo is going to be a great city for it. The 2021 dates are July 23rd to August 8th. So July 23rd is the opening, August 8th would be the closing. Packages that we'll discuss in a little bit start on the 22nd and end on the 9th. So usually the day before and the day after, unless you're coming earlier, staying later for your personal reasons or an add-on trip. The Paralympics, which we won't talk too much about today because most of our travel is geared around the Olympic timeframe, but we do always have guests that are interested in those games as well, and those are the 24th through the 5th. The 33 sports will be participating in the Olympics, and 22 sports will be in the Paralympics. So now that you know that you have the opportunity to see all these events, how do you get tickets? Is always the main question we get. And while there are many ways to get tickets, there's one official ticket provider for each country. And that's what I call the box office. And so we always encourage our guests to check with the box office, see what you can get there. That's always going to be the most cost-efficient ticket that you're going to be able to get. With that being said, they go quickly, and there's probably not the more popular events, they're sold out. And once they're sold out, they're pretty much gone. Every once in a while, I have clients that'll call me and say, hey, I got lucky and I got a swimming ticket, or I got a gymnastics ticket. And that's awesome. But what we do is you book with us. And then we let you know how and when any ticket sales come up. If something we see that pops up on the screen, we'll tell you to go. A lot of times our clients will have a list of their wish list of events they want to go, and they just slowly check off that list as they are able to acquire tickets. We've successfully helped clients at all the recent winter and summer games book official tickets with trusted sources. So don't get too hung up on the ticket thing. We can always find the tickets you need. And depending on where we find it, obviously the price is dependent on that. One of the last thing is what makes the Olympics one of the most popular sporting events in the world. Ashley and I were talking, and I think we both agree to the high level of like kind of our what we were impressed with the most. But I think everybody, you ask 10 people, I think 10 people would have different answers. But for me, the world is coming together. You're focusing on one thing. You're focusing on sport. You're rooting for your country. In the United States, a lot of times we're rooting for our colleges, or we're rooting for our pro teams. And it's very common to do so, but very rarely do we get to actually root for the USA or whatever country you're from. So here you're actually coming together, you're putting the differences aside, and you're actually rooting for your country. And I just love that feeling. It just makes you feel proud when you're in that situation. I know someone got excited about FIFA up here in the chat, and the same thing at the World Cup. It really is, it's just fun to get that USA spirit or your country's spirit. I know we have some people calling in from around the world. Also, culture of the host city is something that's really neat. A lot of times the host cities of these big events, they really put on display their traditions. You get to dive deep into like some of that stuff and really experience the different ways the host city and their people, they want to impress you and they want to show it off. And so you really get a neat insight to that. And one other thing I think that I wrote down here is the different nationality. Like you can go to any corner and there's a different nationality, there's a different language being spoken. And it's just a really neat experience that you don't get to experience everywhere at one time. You have to travel to all these places. And when you're at the Olympics or something like the World Cup or something, you have people from all over the world at one place at one time. And it doesn't really matter. You could be at a restaurant and hear 5 different languages. And it's just a neat experience, especially for you guys that are travelers.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's also one of my favorite things about the Olympics is like, it's just so international in such a unique way. So something to experience for sure.
Right. No, yeah, it is. I thought that I went ahead and put together a slide here that talks about some fun facts. There's 5 sports debuting in the Tokyo Summer Games. I list 3 over there. Does anybody want to take a stab at what the other 2 may be? Maybe type it in this group chat. Anybody? Well,
no guesses.
I'll give you a second to maybe type something in there, and I'll start talking about sports climbing. Well, sport climbing is one of those sports that'll debut. If you've ever seen a sports climbing venue, it's pretty neat. The wall is huge, and the way that they can shuffle up that wall is just pretty amazing. So I think that's going to be a pretty fun event. The surfing will be held at one of the big surfing beaches right there outside of Tokyo. I think over like 600,000 surfers visit this area every year. So it'll be a really neat venue to watch surfing, and surfing will be fun. I've never actually seen surfing in person myself, so I'm excited to go see that event. And then skateboarding is another one that will be new. And, they'll have the street discipline where, the street-like courses featuring like the stairs and the handrails, the stairs and the handrails, and the benches where like tricks are performed. And then you'll have like the park discipline where you have the hollowed out course, like that big hole that you see in some of your neighborhood parks with a series of curves, and like the speed determines what kind of tricks can be done. So that'll be, I think, a neat one. Wrestling is a guess that Jen has. Wrestling is in the Olympics. BMX, no, that has been in the Olympics. That's a fun event as well. Cycling is always good. One is kind of a trick question because one is baseball and softball. And it's kind of a reinstatement of the event. They actually participated in 2008 in Beijing, up until 2008 in Beijing. And then that was the last year they had baseball and softball. And kind of a fun fact, the USA softball team actually lost to Japan in 2008 in the gold medal games. So I think USA will be ready to regain that crown come next summer. And then the last one is karate. So I think this is going to be one of the neatest events in Japan. Karate was actually a martial art that originated in Okinawa. And I think it's going to be really special to some of the local Japanese people. So I think it'll be a neat experience for us travelers who enjoy going in and experiencing the culture and experiencing the locals to be around that, that event. So those are the 5 events that'll be debuting in Tokyo. Another fun fact is that the medals that all the athletes will be receiving are produced from old cell phones and old electronics through something they call the Tokyo 2020 Medal Project. Over 5,000 medals were produced. And what they did was they collected small electronic devices, such as used mobile phones, all over Japan. And it's, the idea was that they would really involve the citizens to make these medals. And it's the first time that's been done. And it really kind of made it a nationwide participation event. Ashley and I were talking how nicely this part of the Olympics ties in with what Traverse really does well, and that's the exercise and sustainability. It serves that purpose very, very nicely, which they're really trying to make that the legacy of the games. But I really like the way that they tie in the Japanese citizens to contribute in that really personal way, so everybody's a part of the games. It's the first time it's ever been done, so I think that's pretty neat that every medal is going to be made from an old cell phone or electronics. So, and the last thing that kind of just baffles me, but if anyone can do it, the Japanese can do it, is the athlete village beds are made from cardboard. So from what I understand, it's stronger than wood. And at the end of the games, both the frames and the mattresses, which the mattresses, I'll be clear, are not made of cardboard, were recycled into paper and plastic products after the game. So I think that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so what type of packages are offered to the games? We have 3 different package types. I kind of categorized everything in. The first thing is the Summer Games fan package. Typically, you'll find most of our clients will travel in 3, 6, 9, 12, or 18 night packages. The duration of the games is 18 nights. So that starts the night before and ends the day after. And custom dates are also an option based on availability. You can see, we'll come back to what's included in a second, but that's the Summer Games fan package. Most people usually do the 6 and 9 night Summer Games package. It just seems to be when you're traveling across the world to go see this big event, you want to have a week or a little bit, maybe 10 days to really enjoy the host country and the Olympics as well. We also have hotel only packages, which we include transfers in that. They tend to be less expensive, but give you the ability to just kind of do what you want. None of our packages are follow the umbrella type packages. It's not, you're not going around based on group tours or anything like that. We have access to that kind of stuff and we have daily support, but the hotel only is just, it's really, really a simple version of what our Summer Games package is, but it's a possibility. And then something you're gonna hear a lot about today is our Kyoto and Mount Fuji combo packages, where you can combine one of the top 2 package types with a Kyoto or Mount Fuji add-on to have that really ultimate cultural experience in Japan. And that's where we'll be, Ashley and myself will be partnering to, our companies will be partnering to provide you guys with an awesome experience. So what's really included in the Tokyo packages? I'll go through this list. You can kind of read along with me, but basically conveniently located accommodations. You're going to stay centrally located near the games and the sites of Tokyo. So you're not going to have to travel far distances to get to anything. You'll be right in the center of everything. We also do Experience Tokyo excursion. You're going to see the top sites of Tokyo. We have a daily hospitality we'll talk a little about. That's basically a hospitality zone, including food and drink. We'll be at the airport. I'll have a whole team at each airport. There's 2 international airports right there in Tokyo. And we'll have a team at both airports to meet you and get you on your transportation to get you to the hotel. So you don't have to worry about anything. Right when you land, we take over just to take out some of that stress of travel. But so we have round trip airport transfers as well. Daily breakfast at the hotel. We'll have exclusive events that are like for the opening and closing. We have game watching parties. There's cultural activities. So on the daily basis, we offer things from nightlife tours to sushi making, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. We have a team there, like I said, so we have on-site assistants. If you need help with getting tickets or tours, we have our team there to help you with that as well. Everybody receives a welcome kit, a swag bag. Those are always fun to put together. We try to make them a little bit combination of the Olympics and the host country. The Book with Confidence policy we can talk about a little bit later too, but basically your travel investment, with the uncertainty right now with travel, your investment is protected with the Book with Confidence policy. And then what you see is what you pay with our packages. So there's no additional fees or anything like that. And the package highlights. So experience Tokyo. You're going to discover Tokyo and the culture of the city with a complimentary tour to the main sites. So you might visit things like the Imperial Palace or Royal Gardens or some of the other key cultural landmarks, depending on what's open next summer and how they're going to deal with that. It'll be a great day. It's always a fun highlight of our packages. I've been doing this since 2004 in Athens, and we always tie in some sort of tour or experiences within the host cities that really just are just usually like the highlight of the event. Everyone comes for the Olympics, but then when they leave, they're talking about some of these experiences, which is fun. The VIP access, we do have, and we enjoy nightly hospitality zones. So it's there's food and drink and snacks. It's a nice way just to, before you go out for the night, maybe stop by, have a drink, have some snacks, talk to other Olympic fans, or after a long day out. It's a perfect place to just kind of relax for a little bit before you head out for dinner. We also have the ticket and tour service I talked about. So if you need extra tickets, we can always help you with that. The exclusive viewing parties, I'll jump over to the red one, is we have the opening and closing ceremony. So a lot of the most expensive events usually at the Olympics are the opening and closing ceremonies. And because they're so expensive, a lot of times they're more expensive than the actual package itself. We noticed early on that our clients weren't, even the athletes' families, weren't necessarily going to the opening and closing ceremonies. So we decided to start throwing these events, and they just became a hit. And what we do is we gather everybody that's included in our programs. We'll have a big party. There's food and drink. We have the opening and closing ceremonies up on the big screens. We all watch the teams coming together, and it's just a fun night. We've held them at some really neat venues in the past. And I know Ashley and I were in Beijing together, and we had a really neat venue there that just, you could see all the fireworks after the opening ceremony. And it really is an enjoyable night. And you get to talk with everybody else. And there's just a lot of excitement for both of those. We also usually throw in one more during the middle of the games. And then what we're here to talk about a little bit more today is the cultural activities. So those can range from the fish market tours to visiting Mount Fuji on a day trip, or maybe you have an add-on trip, or maybe you want to make some Japanese dishes like sushi, or go and see the night lights. We have a lot of different options, maybe sumo wrestling, or maybe there's some boat tours that you want to do through Tokyo. It's a really neat way to kind of just like dive deep into that culture. And the big thing, like we want to talk about, like I was telling you a second ago, is that Kyoto and Mount Fuji, we have a really neat option for everybody to have like a 2 to 3 night. And it's been a big hit with our customers. We take over 1,000 people to the Olympics, and you wouldn't even know it because it's just designed to be so like personalized. But everybody is just eating up this Kyoto and Mount Fuji add-on because it's just a neat way to go see some of Japan. So we'll get kind of more into that too.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start talking a little bit about these packages. So as we've kind of mentioned before, so we're working in tandem together where Traverse Journeys is handling these cultural add-ons, and it can be really flexible how you add them on. So I'll start with just kind of the inclusions and then talk about like the actual itinerary itself. So they're designed as 3 days and 2 nights. So it's quick, but we take advantage of the time to make the most of it. For this one, for Mount Fuji, it starts and finishes in Tokyo, and you do 1 night at a hot springs and another night at a lake house bed and breakfast. You can just do a day trip from Tokyo to see Mount Fuji. That is really popular, and if you only have time for that, you can do that. However, it's really nice to just take some time in the mountains and really soak in that area and that region. This particular itinerary has a nature focus, which I'll talk about, and also culture. We work with really amazing local guides who will just give you all kinds of history and all of the cultural aspects of it. and you'll get the Kazakai dinner, which is one of the famous kind of dinner styles, multi-course in Japan. And of course, you can't go to Japan without some sake. So you'll do some sake tasting as well. So on the first day, when we are doing our Mount Fuji, you'll start in Tokyo, and you'll do a combination of public transport and then our private van transport. These are all small groups, so max like 12 to 14 people. So it'll just be a small group. A lot of times it'll, some of the clients we already have are like a family of 4 already. So it's, a couple little mini groups. So we start with our local guide, and we stop for lunch at a local cafe and go for a little hike in the forest. Nothing strenuous, but like a nice, they call it forest bathing. So it's really ancient trees and really ancient forest. You'll see your first start of all of the Mount Fuji views, because throughout the couple of days, you'll get to actually see Mount Fuji from different views. There's a natural cave where we're going the first day, and a bird sanctuary. You'll get to see some really ancient Japanese mountain villages, and then stay at our local bed and breakfast. And then on the next day, which we have like the full day to explore, you'll get to see these ancient tree molds in a forest. They come from old lava flows. And you'll see more. We'll have a picnic lunch. You'll see more views of Mount Fuji. You can either kind of hang out and rest during some of our time in the picnic and hiking, or you can go on an additional excursion from that area. There's an old shrine from one of the emperors, Kaiko, from like 2,000 years ago, where they made offerings to the Shinto deities. So you'll learn, our local guide, like I mentioned, you'll learn a lot about like religion and tradition and culture all along the way. And then of course you have to have that sake. So we'll stop for a sake tasting, and you'll get to learn a little bit about the process and how it's made. And then we'll also stop at the Subaru Fifth Line station, which is the popular Mount Fuji spots where you see like kind of typical pictures. And if you're doing a day trip to Mount Fuji, that's where you would get that viewpoint. What else is great about having these 3 day, 2 nights is that if it does happen to be cloudy or something, you have more than one opportunity to make sure you get to see it. And you'll also be able to see what they call the Japanese Alps range. And then we'll stay at a different hotel that night, another local B&B, and you'll get to experience the onsen baths, the hot water springs baths, and then the multi-course dinner. So it's a really cool, it's active but relaxing, because you're really getting like that nature therapy. And one of the great things, one of my favorite things about this package in light of COVID is that it's really supporting local communities and local bed and breakfast owners and craftsmen, that have really been hurt during, just the lack of tourism this year. So it's a really great way to be supporting that. So that is the Mount Fuji package. And then our second one is for Kyoto. So this one is also 3 days and 2 nights. It starts and finishes in Kyoto, and the package includes a bullet train ticket from Tokyo. Although Rich and I, what we found is we can be flexible in your transit needs, because some people might find it easier to fly into Osaka and then take the train from Osaka to Tokyo. There can be kind of a mix of how we do it, and we can customize that for you. But just so you are aware, you do get one of your directions from Tokyo included. And we do a little welcome orientation when you get there. I'll personally be there. Rich will be stationed out of Tokyo, so we have each other on either end. And then the second day, which we'll talk about in more detail in a second, is when you get to see your full day of excursions. We've learned we really balance the iconic sites, because you have to see some of these sites, even if they are more on the touristy side, but then we balance them out with some really hidden gems, and Kyoto has so many of those. And for this package, we also have add-ons. So if you want to add extra nights, there's a really amazing town, Nara, that you can go to. We also offer a really nice customized culinary excursion. There are Michelin restaurants in Kyoto, and our local guide is an expert and makes a customized package for you on that. So if you're a foodie, and that's something definitely to consider. And there's time for you to do it in the 3 day, 2 night package. So just to go a little bit more into the day by day, like I said, when you first come from Tokyo, or if you're coming from the airport, same thing, like we'll meet you at the train station or the airport to get you to our centrally located hotel. So you're in a great spot in a great area. And then I'll be there and our team for a meet and greet orientation. You have that first evening free, but we can have a drink together and have a whole list of recommended restaurants or sites. So you can go to have a multi-course meal or hit up they call them izakayas, like the little pubs. You can do kind of I like to call it a progressive dinner, trying different things. So you have that first night free, or if you book the culinary, like if you wanted to do the culinary add-on for a really specialized culinary experience, that would be the night to do it. And then day 2, the middle day, that's the day where we have the group activities. So whomever is on like that date set, which again, we max out at like between 12 and 14 because we want to keep it a small enough group for everyone. We'll do a combination of foot and public transportation. So just like a local. So we'll hit up all the different spots. You'll get to see historic districts and different shrines, a lot of traditional crafts. We'll stop for a lunch together at a family-run restaurant. We'll have options for where we end in the evening if you want to kind of keep on with certain sites, because there's so many to see. If you have a list of your own sites, or you hang out again for dinner, have a group dinner, lots of options that day. And then the next day in the morning is when you would either depart back to back to Tokyo by bullet train if your package is working that way, or you can go to the Osaka airport to fly out. So, and again, we can kind of customize your transportation to fit your schedule. So as I mentioned, for both of these, we keep them small group. Certain excursions, like what I was describing, are on a set time schedule with the small group, but there's still a lot of room for customization, especially if you want to like stay an extra night. Like Nara, when you're in the Kyoto package, it's a compact little city with a really famous temple and beautiful gardens and shrines and a deer park. So that's an add-on that's a lot of people want to do, and you add on an extra night in order to be able to do that. So lots of options, very customizable, and a great way to kind of get out of the big city too and see another side of Japan. So with that said, I'm going to let Rich explain a little bit about the booking process, because everything is so custom built. There's not just one set price for one thing. So we build it with you. So Rich, I'll let you take over here.
Yeah, like Ashley said, it's really custom built. So it's really hard to give you just a general pricing based on everyone, because I know everybody on this call probably has a different interest or different wants. So I tried to put together just some general pricing so that you understood kind of where maybe prices start at or how you can build in some things. So as you'll see, the summer games packages, they start at $24.50 for a 3-night, and they go up to $67.50 for a 9-night. Like I said earlier, the 6-night, 9-night tend to be the most popular summer games packages, and those are per person. All pricing that you see here is per person based on double occupancy. We do have some triple options, and we do have some single options as well. All of our packages have availability. Some date might have less than others, but we can try to make whatever work for you if possible. The hotel only options, as I was mentioning earlier, they start out a lot less, around $19.50 for 6 nights and $29.50 for 9 nights. Again, there's no bells and whistles with that. We'll still meet and greet you at the airport and make sure you get close to your hotel, because to us, that's it allows you to start and finish your trip a little stress-free, and we think that's important. But the $19.50, $29.50 gives you a good idea of how to start that. And you can combine either of those with the Kyoto trip or the Mount Fuji trip, and you'll see that the pricing starts about $14.95 for the Kyoto and $16.95 for the Fuji. Again, you can go to our website, bucketlistevents.com, or Traverse Journeys, and get a little bit more information about those add-on trips. Most people are adding on, doing the 2-night, and even adding on a 3rd night in these locations, especially in Kyoto. They're adding that 3rd night just because they want to go to Nara, because as Ashley explained, it's pretty amazing. Or they just want a little bit more time to explore Kyoto and some of that region themselves. Fuji, I think you can probably do in the 2 nights. I think that's sufficient. I don't think you necessarily need an extra night, but we do have that option if you want to have, like Ashley said, a little bit more relaxation, just get out of the hustle and bustle. Maybe give yourself an extra night to see the mountain if for some reason it is cloudy or hazy. But I think 3 nights in Kyoto is definitely a popular. Fuji is 2 nights. The sample combo packages, you can see, if you decided you wanted to add, we have a lot of people that are coming for 3 nights, and the 3-night combo which is 6 nights total, but the 3 nights in Tokyo, 3 nights in Kyoto is really becoming popular right now because people want to have that taste of Tokyo and the Olympics, and they want to get in and out, and then they want to get to the countryside, and they want to see some more of Japan, why they have that week off, because it's 6 nights, 7 days. And that tends to be a really nice travel time for especially Americans. The 6 night, you can see the pricing there, and then obviously the 9 nights. So that'll give you a kind of an idea of where it's starting. But when you're ready to start talking about your personal, experiences and how you want to kind of build out your trip, we can kind of look at that availability and that pricing a little bit more in detail.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll be sending a follow-up email to you with exactly like if you want to build your package. Rich will be the one to reach out to, and he'll start that custom process. And then anything with the Mount Fuji or the Kyoto customization comes over to me. And like I said, we're both there in Japan. We'll both be there, and we'll be the ones both building your package and also there on the ground when you get there. So it's keeping it a really smooth experience. And
right.
We have a little, we'll get to questions here in just a minute, but last little thing here, we have a little, Rich, I'll let Rich tell you about it, but a little ticket to a credit.
Yeah, so right now we have an incentive for bookings. It's $250 per person, a ticket and tour credit for all new bookings between now and December 1st, 2020. So you can use that to buy tickets through we actually have a ticket list that we provide to our clients only, that, maybe they came from other clients, or maybe they came from other sources that we were able to find some tickets to offer to you for events that are kind of hard to find. Or maybe you have all the tickets you want and you want to do some extra activities. You can put that towards some of the cultural activities as well. So we have that option for everybody. Everyone always has fun spending that credit. So that's good. The booking process is really simple. It's, I'll send you, we'll talk about your dates. We'll get, I'll provide you pricing and a quote. We'll kind of lock that in. I'll pull the inventory for you. And then it's a $500 deposit per person to do is upon booking. What's 99% of our people do a monthly payment plan. It's interest free. It's a huge, it's huge for all of our clients, and we do that across all of our events. So the remaining balance can be paid in equal interest-free monthly payments until May 2021. So you have time to pay this off. You don't have to pay it all up front. We understand that everyone's budgets are different, and so you can pay it off anytime you want between now and May 2021. And then the book of confidence policy is included with every booking. So your travel investment is protected if the event is canceled. We do encourage you to have the travel insurance and all the things that you're used to having when you're traveling the world. But we understand that right now with the uncertainty that there needs to be some sort of guarantee of travel investments being protected. So you get a full refund minus basically a 10% processing fee. We can't refund the credit card fees, and we can't refund there's a couple other fees we have with some of our vendors that are non-refundable. So you get pretty much 90% of all the money you've paid if for some reason the event was canceled. So that comes with every policy. My email is there, jot it down. Ashley said she's gonna send this out as well, so you'll have it, but it's rich@mybucketlistevents.com. Send me an email. Let me know that you were on this webinar and that you'd like to start talking about your trip, and we can go from there. It's really kind of that simple.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, Rich. So I'll open it up. If you have any questions, type them in the chat. We can answer whatever questions about Japan, about the Olympics itself, about the process, about kind of COVID and travel. Any questions? While you guys are thinking, I know we do get questions about flights and airfare. Rich, do you want to just talk about that for a second?
Yeah, so flights and airfare are not included with the packages. We find that everybody has their own preference, their own travel needs. It's just too difficult to try to get everybody get everyone's flights for them. So people like to use points. People want to go to Hawaii, maybe on the way to Tokyo, I've heard. People want to split up that long trip. So there's a lot of reasons we don't include flights, but right now flights are on sale and people are booking. And I have flights coming in to me daily because we have to gather all that flight information. So I know people are booking their flights and rebooking their flights. So I encourage you to look into that. It's kind of one of those things you kind of have to book your flight with at the same time we're talking about the dates that you're wanting, because you don't want to go book your flight and then find out there's no availability, or vice versa. So it's kind of one of those things we got to start the process of talking, and then you kind of jump and everything kind of falls into place rather quickly. And then once that's done, everything you get to kind of look forward to it after that.
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions?
One thing that regarding flights, we do get a lot of information or questions for the Kyoto part, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier when you were talking about the Kyoto flights. People, if you're going to add on the Kyoto trip to the Tokyo portion, which I encourage you to really consider that, to have a really cool experience. We have people that will either tack it on to the beginning or they'll tack it on to the end of their stay in Tokyo. So if you're adding it, regardless of if it's before or after your Olympic experience, we encourage you to fly in or out of Osaka and fly, and then the opposite, and then fly in or out of Tokyo. So if you're going to add it on to the end, we encourage you to fly into Tokyo. You'll take the high-speed train to Kyoto, and then afterwards we'll get you to the airport and you'll fly home from Osaka. Instead of having to come back to Tokyo and go directly to the airport after being on a train for so long, it just makes it easier for everyone. And so that's just kind of a tip. I encourage you to do that, because if it's during the games, you're not going to be able to come back to Tokyo and probably find a room for just one night. It may be too difficult for that. So you just got to be thinking about that. And a little couple moving pieces, but I can walk you through that when we start talking a little bit more.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that wraps everything up. We've got some contact. Be sure and follow us here on different social media channels. And you might know that we do events online every month. We do usually a couple. We have one on responsible and sustainable and regenerative travel coming up in November. And next month, we also, or in just a few weeks, we have one on women in travel, international travel for women. So, and we have a really great panel from around the world on that particular call. So we're really excited about that. So look for an email from me a little bit later today with all the links that you need for this, and feel free, and Rich will be CC'd on that. So you'll also have direct access for his email as well. So feel free and reach out to us with any questions. And thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.